Well, here is another crazy story. Imagine your kid FaceTiming mom by mistake and it changing the status of your marriage. She called me paranoid for checking her phone until our toddler accidentally FaceTimed her AP. Looking back, I should have trusted my gut months ago, but there's something about having a 3-year-old that makes you second guess everything. Maybe the exhaustion was making me paranoid. Maybe the stress of balancing work and family was getting to me. Maybe I was just looking for problems where there were not any. At least that's what she kept telling me. It started with small things. The workout at the gym session stretched from 1 hour to 3. The sudden need to work late at the dental office where she'd kept regular hours for 5 years. The phone that never left her side. It seemed that thing was glued to her hip. When I mentioned these changes, she'd laugh and called me paranoid. You're seeing things that are not there, she'd say, shaking her head like I was being ridiculous. Our toddler had just turned 3, and between his endless energy and my job managing a local bookstore, I barely had time to breathe, let alone play detective. But the knot in my stomach wouldn't go away. 10 years of marriage teaches you things. You learn someone's rhythms, their patterns. When those patterns change, you notice. I started to notice that she would keep her phone out of sight. It wouldn't be accessible anymore. Sometimes it would be lying around in obvious places, like the kitchen counter, the dining room table, or laying on the couch when she had to go use the bathroom. How she'd step onto the back porch to take calls. Even when it was pouring rain outside, she would still go outside. It was covered, of course, but why just take the call in another room of the house? How she started keeping her distance, both emotionally and physically. The casual touches stopped. The good morning kisses disappeared. When I tried to hug her, she'd stiffen like I was a stranger. Then came the password changes. First her phone, then her laptop, then our iPad. It's for work, she said. Patient privacy. I thought to myself, BS. You don't need patient privacy at home. That's what I kept telling myself. But she never needed to lock everything down before. The dental office hadn't changed their policies. I tried talking to her about it. We used to share everything, I said one night after our son went to bed. What changed? Nothing changed, she snapped. You're being paranoid again. I'm just busy with work. We have a toddler. This is what happens to marriage sometimes. But it wasn't just sometimes. It was all the time. Every day, the distance grew larger. Every week, another piece of our life together seemed to slip away. She missed our son's first soccer practice because of a dental emergency. She skipped family dinner at my parents' house because she wasn't feeling well. But her Instagram showed her at a wine bar on the same nights. The breaking point came on a Sunday morning. I was making pancakes while our son played with his toys in the living room. She was upstairs getting ready for brunch with the girls. Then I heard our son giggling, followed by the distinctive sound of a FaceTime call connecting. Daddy, Daddy, look, I called Mommy. I walked into the living room, confused. She was upstairs. Why is he FaceTiming his mom? Which I thought was hilarious. But when I looked at the iPad screen, I saw a man's face. A face I didn't recognize, but one that clearly recognized my son. Hey, buddy, he said, before his expression changed to shock. The call ended abruptly. My hands were shaking as I took the iPad. Our son had accidentally FaceTimed one of her recent contacts, a name I didn't recognize. The same name that appeared over and over in her call history when I checked. The confrontation that followed was brief but devastating. She came running downstairs. Her face was all pale like she had just seen a ghost. But it was too late for excuses, too late for more gaslighting, too late for anything except the truth. The truth spilled out in fragments. Her co-worker at the dental office, not a dentist, but a medical supply representative who visited twice a month, 6 months of secret meetings. Hotel rooms were charged to her prepaid debit card I never knew about. I only found out by looking at bank statements because she took out cash from our checking account to buy a couple of these prepaid cards. This woman had a whole hidden life that our 3-year-old had accidentally exposed with one innocent tap on an iPad. I moved out that afternoon, taking our son with me to my sister's house. The next few weeks flew by, talking with lawyers about the situation and what to do. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal, it was watching our son ask why we couldn't all have pancakes together anymore. My sister, bless her heart, took care of the practical things I couldn't handle. She helped me document everything, the bank statements, the hotel receipts I found. To be honest, she covered her tracks pretty good, but it was our toddler who had a fascination with the iPad and its buttons that had uncovered her affair. The text messages she'd forgotten to delete, all evidence of a life I thought I knew, was crumbling around me. Friends chose sides, as friends do. Some surprised me. Her best friend since high school showed up at my sister's house one evening with a bottle of whiskey and a stack of photos. Photos of them together at restaurants when she was supposed to be working late. I couldn't keep quiet anymore, she said, not after seeing what this is doing to your son. The divorce papers were filed within a month. She didn't contest anything. It seemed like she really didn't care anymore. The evidence was too clear. Instead, she focused on damage control, telling anyone who would listen that I had been neglecting her, not paying attention to her, just being a bad husband in general, and that she had needed someone who understood her. I focused on our son, on maintaining his routine, on making sure he knew he was loved, on building a new normal that didn't include Sunday morning pancakes with both parents. The lawyers handled everything else. First update. 3 months have passed since that Sunday morning. Our son stays with me 5 days a week. Her work schedule isn't conducive to primary custody, apparently. The medical supply representative, it turns out, was married too. His wife found out the same week we did. It seemed like the universe sent an SOS signal to both of us, or, as Tony would say, get the fuck out. The bookstore has become my solitude, believe it or not. Sometimes when I am working, it puts me in a different mindset. There is something comforting about being surrounded by other people's stories while trying to make sense of your own. My son loves story time on Saturday mornings. He's starting to smile more, to laugh more. Kids in most cases are stronger than you think they are. Second update, 7 months post-discovery. The divorce is final. She moved to a different dental office in the next town over. Too many whispers at the old one. The medical supply rep transferred to a different territory. His divorce is still pending. I bought a small house closer to my sister. Our son has his little room decorated with dinosaurs and spaceships. He still FaceTimes and knows how, but now it's with his aunts and grandparents. He's starting preschool next month. Life moves forward whether you're ready or not. Third update, 13 months later, the bookstore promoted me. More responsibility, better pay, but still enough flexibility to be there for school pickup. Our son started soccer again, for real this time, not just practice. He scored his first goal last week. She's dating someone new already. I heard it through the grapevine, not that I was asking. I am focusing on healing, on being present for our son, on rebuilding what was broken. Some days are harder than others, but they're getting better. Last week, my son asked if we could have pancakes for dinner. As I watched him pour too much syrup on his plate, giggling at the mess, I realized something. Sometimes the best parts of your old life find a way to fit into your new one. You just have to be patient enough to let them. Oh, if some of you are wondering, I did get a DNA test for my son, and he is mine. Well, I won't call him a simp, because it sounded like he didn't waste any time filing for divorce.